Good morning, friends. It's Terrific Tuesday. Hope everybody's having a great week so far. So, we worked on a little Christmas blanket last week. Y'all remember this little guy? And I have been working on this off and on, I don't know, last week or so. But I'm to the point now where I'm working on the border to get it finished up. So, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a little border action. I started over here on the corner. No, buddy, no. Go back in your chair. No, no. We got a little diesel nose here in the lap. Nope, nope. Hey, MJ, good morning. Trish, good morning. Kristen, good morning. Christine, good morning. Arlene, how are ya? Good morning, friends. Deborah, Angie, good morning, good morning. So, this is a modern granny. It's done in the round. We started this last week on the live. I don't remember which day it was. But you could go back and rewatch the replay of that over on YT under the live tab. And I've just been kind of working on this in the background, but I thought it would be just kind of a nice project today, kind of get it finished up and be able to move on to something else. So that's what we're working on today. We're just doing a little ruffle border around the edge of this. And the way that I work my borders for the Modern Granny is, on the Modern Granny, how it's a 2-row repeat and you do your little granny stitch and then you come back with your chain stitch. Basically, when I work my border, what I do is I will work, sometimes it depends on the amount, but I usually do like, this one I did 7 double crochets to make this little fan. I guess a 7 is technically a scallop, right? So I do a little scallop. Hey, Kim, good morning. Trish said, my dog looks at me like that when he wants some attention. I know, Trish, as soon as I turn on the live camera, he decides he needs some attention. Now, all morning, mind you, he was fine on his own, but turn on that camera and he's like, oh, I'm here. I'm here for it. Hey, Dana, good morning. Joyful Rosetta, good morning. Kara, good morning. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Shan, Dog Mama, good morning. So basically, the way that I do this border when I'm finishing these modern grannies up, and you don't have to do it this way, this is just kind of how I like to do it. I will do 7 double crochets to do a like a shell. And then in the next stitch, I will do a single crochet to kind of bring that corner down. And then I'll move to the next chain space and do my 7. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, I ran out of yarn, so I have to get some new tied on. But this blanket will go down to the NICU for one of the um, isolettes down there. And in hindsight, I wish I had done only one row of white. I feel like this blanket has too much white, but y'all, when you get like, and you're crocheting along and then you're like, I don't really like that. But by this time, you're so far along in the project, you're like, okay, do I frog all this out or do I keep going? It was one of those moments over the weekend. And I was like, yeah, we're going to keep going. So, but for the next one, I'm doing it a little different. Hey, Firefly, good morning. Donna said, oh, you're working on a Christmas blanket for me. Well, Donna, this is actually going down to the NICU down in Pensacola, but it is a very pretty blanket. Thank you so much for the follow, by the way. Cindy, good morning. Miss Moore, good morning. Did I see Desert Life popped in there? How are you doing, my friend? How are things in sunny CA? I hope it's well. You're up awfully early this morning on a Tuesday. Kelly, good morning. Thank you so much for the heart me. Westy Lover, good morning. Pat, good morning. Okay, so I need to join on some more of this yarn. Now, this colorway I'm using right here is called Cranberry. I'm using Cranberry, white, and the colorway Christmas. The Christmas is a metallic yarn, but it comes from the Hobby of Lobbies, and it's a really pretty yarn for Christmas. So anyhow, in hindsight, I wish I had only done one row of white, one row of the Christmas, and then one row of the white. So I have a green version of this that I'm also working on, and I really like how this is working up better. This colorway is evergreen, but the white and the variegated are basically the same yarn. But see how different it looks with only doing the one row of white? It doesn't make it such a white blanket. It really lets the evergreen color kind of show through. So, as I said, in hindsight, if I make another one of the red ones, I'm probably only going to do one of the white rows on each side of the Christmas yarn. I just think it looks prettier. Hey, Luann, good morning. Welcome in. User 8, good morning. Thank you so much for the follow. Kimberly, good morning. Yeah, it really is working up nice. I like this. I think it'll be nice down there in the NICU for any babies that come over Christmas. I talked to my sister over the weekend and she said they have a full house down there. All 36 of their isolates are filled. And she said there's another whole group of isolates downstairs in a different department of her hospital, and they have 36 downstairs as well. I'll tell y'all, I think I could make isolates from here until eternity and never have enough. So again, I'm doing 7 double crochets and I'm working over that chain space that we make. So once we get our 7 double crochets, what you have to do is you have to, when you finish this stitch, somehow attach it down to your main body of your blanket. And that will help kind of get it down into shape. Now, you could do it a couple different ways. Sometimes I will go under the chain space and do a single crochet that way. However, what I have started doing with this is actually working it a little bit different. I don't think I have 7 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got to add another one to that shell. We're going to have to rewind this. But what I have started doing is instead of going into that chain space for this next one, what I'm actually doing is I'm going over the chain space and I'm actually going into the center of the granny cluster that's here below. And so I put my hook all the way through, including under that chain. So I'm kind of going under both and then doing my single crochet. What that does is it makes it so that that chain space doesn't like bow out so much. And I kind of like the look of that a little bit better. So you really could do it either way, but that's kind of my preference as I've been working more of these is to actually go down into that granny stitch. So let's put in stitch number 7. Okay, so we have our 7 double crochets for our shell stitch, our scallop. Now, instead of going here under the chain, I'm going to come down here to the very center stitch of the row below. I put my hook all the way through and then I do my single crochet. So what that does is it forces the side of that scallop to come down and really kind of give it that pretty shape that we're looking for. And then I'm going to move next to the chain space. Now, the other way you could do this also, you don't necessarily have to put the chains. You could end with this row right here where you have your double crochets. You wouldn't even necessarily have to put the chains. But when you do the chains, it kind of gives your scallops a little different look. It kind of gives it a place to go, I guess. So I'll do it either way. There's no right or wrong way. However I'm feeling in the moment is just kind of what I do. So now I'm going to come work into this chain space and I'm going to do 7 double crochets. Sometimes I'll put more here. Sometimes I do 9. Again, it just kind of depends on what my mood is. Mary, thank you so much for the follow. Blue Mystery, good morning. Welcome in. Creative Firefly, good morning. Welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. Lou, thank you for the heart me. 4 daughters in the house. Good morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. JT is here. Good morning, JT. Donna, good morning. Welcome in, friends. If I miss you hopping on, I hope everybody's having a great day. If you are new to the channel, my name is April, and I am a hobby crocheter. Miss Buttercup and Anel, good morning. Welcome in. I think it's Anel. Thank you so much for the follows. Donna, thank you for sharing the live. Granny, uh, good morning. Welcome in. Anyhow, I'm a hobby crocheter, and my name is April. I come live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings. And we just kind of work on different blankets or bags or hats or scarves or whatever I've got on my hook. I just kind of come on and we do a little crochet chat. And I do a lot of stitch talk where I talk about how to make specific stitches or techniques that I use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now we're going to secure this scallop down. So once again, you could go under the chain. In this case, I'm going to go right into that row below and just make it a little more secure. Put my hook all the way through, and then I do my single crochet. And that helps to bring the edge of that scallop down and get it into shape. Really pretty looking stitch. Hey, Gen X girl, good morning. Welcome in. Stacy Blondie, good morning. Mrs. Buttercup, thank you so much for sharing the live. Riri and Ginger Ann, good morning. Welcome in. Thank you so much for the follows. Roz, good morning. I am using an I9 hook this morning, James, an I9, a 5.5 millimeter. This yarn, the mods will pin where you can get it, but this is the colorway Cranberry White, and this Christmas sparkle is actually called Christmas, but it's really pretty. It's got this little sparkle. It's not too much sparkle, it's the perfect amount of sparkle. So we're going to be coming up to the corner here in just a bit. So we'll keep going with this, and you guys can see how I do my corner. But if you are new to the channel, I am live this morning both on TikTok and over on YT. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to bring that scallop down again in the row below, do our single crochet. Now I'm going to start my next scallop into that chain space, 7 double crochets. My handle over on YT is Wheeler 8 Acres. Because we are live on both platforms, you can go back and rewatch any of the lives if you have to hop off and go to work or get the kiddos to school, and you want to go back and rewatch what happened that morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You most certainly can do that. When you look at my YT profile, you will see a page that is called shorts. There's another category that says videos, and what you're looking for is the category that says live. And so anytime we've gone live in the past year or whatever it's been, you can go back and rewatch all of these videos. So if you wanted to see, for example, how we started this blanket last week, you can go back. This is called the Modern Granny blanket that I'm doing. And we worked on this from the very beginning on the live. I don't remember what day it was. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm of that age where everything kind of runs together, you know? Funny how that works. Roz, thank you so much for sharing the live. Jenny, good morning. G. Marie, Juhi, I don't know if I said that right. Welcome in. Thank you so much for the follows, friends. Coming up to this corner, and we're going to work the corner in the same way, but we're going to first do our scallops here. So we're going to do a scallop, then we're going to do a single crochet, a scallop, a single crochet, and then we'll work our scallop into this corner. So the way I work my scallops is I'm working around this chain space. The Modern Granny is a 2-row repeat. You basically make a row of your granny stitches, and then you make a row of these chains. And so instead of a traditional granny square, what it does is it allows these stitches to stack on top of each other, and it gives it a very cool effect. And that's one of the reasons why I like the Modern Granny. It's just a little different spin on things, but it definitely looks really pretty. Um, in hindsight, I mentioned this earlier. If and when I make another one of these, I'm only going to do one row of the white. I don't like how the 2 rows looks. I feel like it's just too much white on the blanket. But I was kind of at that point where it was like, do I want to frog all this? And the answer was no, I don't want to frog all this. So we just kind of went with it. But here's another example of another Christmas blanket I have going. This is in the colorway Evergreen White and Christmas. You can see here I only did one row of the white, took what I learned, put it into practice, right? And I really like the look of this a lot better. I feel like it allows the green to kind of shine through, but still have that Christmas, silvery kind of accent. It looks really pretty. Katie, Mama J, Nameen, Maria, Nicole, Ashley, welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Thank you to all the new followers. We are glad to have you here this morning. Working on a Modern Granny, trying to get it finished up today. This blanket is going to be going to the NICU down in Pensacola. It's called an isolette cover, and that's what I'm making this morning. We're just putting a little ruffle border on it. I've not been able to find the evergreen. Is it also? It is. It is Blue Mystery. Maybe it's out of stock. I'm not sure. Check again, but it's called evergreen. So now we're going to do another scallop. So I'm going to work around the chain space, and we're going to do 7 double crochets around that chain. And what we're making is called a scallop. And the difference between a shell, scallop, what's the other one that's bigger? A shell has 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be a shell. It's a little smaller of a fan. This one here that I'm doing has 7 double crochets. 7 double crochets is called a scallop. And there's one that is 9. Is that a fan? Who knows? Help me out, friends. I know somebody out there knows in TikTok land. Is it a fan when it has 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it might be a fan, but I don't know. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is do my single crochet and anchor that little scallop down and get him into shape. So now into the next space here, the chain space, we're going to do our 7 double crochets. Whenever I work into the corner, what I like to do is I always like to have my single crochet prior to heading into the corner. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, Sammy, good morning. Grace, good morning. Oh, Leah, good morning. I didn't even see you. Shell scallop fan. I think you're right, JT. I think it is a fan. Um, hey, autistic mama, good morning. Welcome in. Uh-oh, the bearded gas attendant is fueling up. So, for those that don't know what Miss Leah is talking about, Leap Llamas, I also live stream my bird feeders over on YT. And right now, one of my favorite little chickens we have, her name is Scruffy. She's in the feeder and she's getting sunflower seeds. And Miss Leah is watching on her TV. Um, and she can see Scruffy over there. Scruffy has little fuzzy cheeks. She's so cute. I do love you. Stop it now. Come on now. Hey, Rachel. Good morning. Preacher lady. Good morning. I think 9 is a fan. Baubles and bullions are different. I think 9 is a fan too. That sounds about right. Kate. Good morning. Welcome in. Country cutie. Miss Tucker or M Tucker. Excuse me. LaQuisha. G Marie. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. What size is this blanket? Well, that's a great question, Marie. I this one's a little larger than I wanted it to be. For the isolette covers, I like to do 26 by 36 is the size that fits perfectly. And this one, I wasn't measuring very good, y'all. And once again, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, do I frog this out? And the answer was, no. So this one's going to be 28 inches, 28 inches, but I try to aim for 26 inches is actually the size that I'm trying to go for. Okay, so what I really like to do when I come to these corners, I like to make sure that my stitches end so that I don't have 2 shells back to back. I like to end with a single crochet. Now, one of the things that will happen is Uh, if it's freezing desert life, come out and come back in. Go out and come back in because I don't think it's freezing for anybody else. It's working fine on my tablet here. Um, Sometimes you'll find that your counts are off, and that is exactly what happened with this blanket. So I want to show you guys how I fixed that to make it so that I ended with my single crochet and not a scallop. Okay. So when I'm looking at my blanket, I sit here in my chair and I go like this. Here's my corner. And in my mind, I go skip, scallop, skip, scallop, skip, scallop. I do that all the way along. And then at the very end, I should be on a skip. A skip would be my single crochet. Okay, so you can say single crochet, scallop. For me, it's easier in my mind to say skip. What happened is when I did this, my skip was here and I had a scallop right here next to my corner. So immediately in my mind, I was like, oh, you know what? 3-letter explicitive. How am I going to fix this? Because I don't want 2 scallops right next to each other. They're going to end up too close, right? Because I want it to be like this, where we have a single crochet on each side of the corner. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I did is I folded my blanket in half like this along the edge, and I lined up these stitches. So then what I did is I said, okay, I need to know this is going to be a single scallop, single scallop, single scallop, and so on. Okay. So then when I got right here, I was at a single. But if you open this up, you're going to see, well, you know what? I've got two stitches here. How am I going to put one scallop into two stitches? Because I've been going over the chains, right? Like mathematically, my sides are not working properly. Okay. So what I did is I basically put a little stitch marker here in these two stitches and I put it in between the two. Then when I was crocheting on this side, I got to find it here because I did a pretty good job of hiding it, I think. Is it on this one? Here it is on this one, maybe. Okay. So do you see these two stitches right here? I have the chain space on either side, but what I did is I put my scallop in between the two. So basically, I was able to make my math work properly and I was able to end my border. This happens a lot when you make these blankets, right? Because I'm not following a pattern, y'all. I'm just winging it, right? And so if you're like me and you're winging it and you end up with your border not being the correct math, this is how you could fix that. Okay. So when we go back around to that other side, basically, instead of putting my scallop here, I'm combining these two stitches. And I will tell you what, y'all, you tell me. If I didn't point that out right there to you, would you have noticed? My guess is, April, I wouldn't have noticed that. So it's a very good trick of how to make that work. In the meantime, I've lost my hook. I've lost my yarn. I'm losing my mind, all the things. Okay, so let's resume here with our corner. So once again, when I come to my corners, I like to do my 7 double crochets. Then into the very last grouping here, I do my single crochet. And now I'm ready to start into my corner. Okay. So in the corner space, I'm going to resume and I'm just going to put my 7 double crochets. Now, one thing with your corners, sometimes what will happen for me in particular is my corners will not lay flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes what will happen is they will start to do this number and they'll curl up like this in my corners. And typically when that happens, it's because I don't have enough stitches in the corners to make that lay flat. So sometimes in my corners, what I will do is I will add extra stitches. Instead of doing a scallop here, I will do a fan and add 2 more stitches to make it 9. Now in this case, it is laying flat, and so I'm good with it. It is curling up a little bit. Do you see how it's curling up this? But it's not really bad. Sometimes this will get really, really curly. And so if you have that happening, all you have to do, pop in a couple extra stitches right here and nobody will be the wiser. And then your fan will lay flat in the corner. Okay. So once again, we have our 7 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm going to start working along this next side. And instead of working into this chain to do my single crochet, I'm going to actually work down here in the bottom. You could very easily do your single crochet here. But what I have found, I don't like how that causes that stitch to kind of pull up away from the blanket. I just don't think it looks as pretty. So instead, what I do is I will work over this chain, but I will actually put my stitch down here in the little granny stitch that we had of the row below in the very center. So I'll go under both the front and back loop, push my hook all the way through, pull up my loop, and then do my single crochet. So what that causes it to do is kind of get this into one little nice package so that it looks aesthetically a little different. Will you use the white one again? I'm not sure what you mean, Tamrika. What do you mean by the white one? Carla, good morning. Welcome in. Sunshine, good morning. Welcome in. Guys, thank you all so much for being here this morning. Thanks to all the new followers. If you are new to the channel, my name is April, and I am a hobby crocheter. This morning we are working on a blanket to go down to the NICU. This most of my work that I do, guys, I don't SELL. I just donate everything. I make hats, I make scarves, I make baby blankets. I make baby blankets for Rachel's gift. I make wheelchair blankets, and um, I just donate everything. Okay. So I don't have a lot of pressure to make custom orders or anything like that. I just do what I feel in my heart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once again, we're going to, tack this scallop down, come down here into these stitches in the very center. Oh, I definitely will use this yarn again, Tamrika. The colors I'm using this morning, this is cranberry, white, and this is a colorway Christmas. The Modswell print pen where you can find that. But I'll use it. I use this yarn a lot, a lot. I do like their Christmas colors. I think they're beautiful. Um, so anyhow, I just thought it would be nice to maybe have a few Christmas blankets down at the NICU if they have any babies around the holidays. So now we're going to work our next scallop. We're going to work under the chain here, and we're going to make 7 double crochets under that chain. We're just working around the chain. So I bring my hook down, go underneath, and pull up my loop. So we have 3 loops, and then we yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to make a total of 7 of those. Oh, I think she means, are you going to use the white in this blanket again? No, I'm putting the final border on this. So I'm pretty much for this blanket done with the white. But I will use the white color again in the future for other projects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, Hannah, good morning. Welcome in. Brianna and Freezing Chick, good morning. Thank you so much for the follows. Thanks for being here. Hey, Reset, good morning. How are you, sir? Welcome in, everybody. It's Terrific Tuesday, and we're working on another little baby blanket for the NICU. Okay, so now we need to bring our scallop down. He's floating up here in the air. We've got to bring this stitch down and get it secured to the edge of our blanket. And the way I do that, instead of working over the chain or under the chain, I'm actually going to look to the grouping below. And you can see we have 3 double crochets from our granny cluster. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in the very center, working under the front and back loop. I'm going to put my hook all the way through, bring up my loop. So we have 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. What that does is it secures that chain and makes it sit a little tighter to the edge of my blanket. Then I'm going to move to our next space, and now it's time to do the scallop. The scallop is when you make 7 double crochets into one stitch. In this case, I'm working into the chain space here, but you could also work this into a stitch itself. This yarn is acrylic, 100% acrylic. This is a 4-weight, and I'm using a 5.5 millimeter and I9 crochet hook. It's a beautiful yarn. Hey, Jules, good morning. Welcome in. Nice to have you here this morning. Hope you are well. I am doing great, having a good week so far. So, nothing to complain about. It's a little chilly outside, but doing my favorite thing, crocheting. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more of our double crochets. I love how they fan out around that chain. I think it looks so pretty. Now, once again, we've got to bring this guy from floating up here in the air. We've got to get him secured to the edge of the blanket. So rather than work around the chain, see how that pulls that up? I don't like the look of that. So how I work around that is, instead of working around the chain, I'll actually skip all the way down here to our granny cluster. I find the very center stitch, So you follow the legs of the stitch up, go under the front and back loop all the way through my work, and I pull up a loop, and all I'm doing is making a single crochet, yarn over, pull through 2. When you do that, what happens is it causes the side of that scallop to fan down and give it that really beautiful kind of ruffly shape. So it's really pretty. When I'm making blankets for donation, whether they be wheelchair blankets that are going to like an assisted living facility, or in this case, going down to the NICU, I always work with acrylic yarn. It's preferred for washing. It's usually 100%. I try to get stuff that is washable and dryable. It just makes it a lot easier. And same thing with baby blankets. Like if I'm making it for a family member or something, I try to pick yarn that is washable and dryable. Like my niece is going to be having another baby here. I think she's due in March. I'm going to have to make a baby blanket for her. Well, I don't have to. I want to. But I'm going to make sure that when I do that, I pick a yarn that is machine washable and dryable. I don't want to make her life more easier or more harder and say, okay, mama, you just had this baby, but if you're going to use this blanket, you've got to hand wash it and lay it flat to dry. Like, I don't want to do that to a new family, right? So I try to pick acrylic yarn. I will use either 3 weight or 4 weight for my baby blankets. Either one I use a lot of. And I just make sure that it's machine washable and dryable. Again, that's a personal preference. You do not have to. The other thing to consider too is sometimes there's allergies that go along with wool. Some people are allergic. And so that I can avoid that situation as well by using an acrylic yarn. So that's just kind of my preference of how I do those things. Hey, Melissa, good morning. Red Lady, thank you so much for being here. We're almost done with this blanket, guys. I have this side and then I still have another long side. We'll be on for another half hour here talking about the stitches before I have to go to work. But hopefully, y'all are enjoying this live and working on a little pretty baby blanket. I know it's not your typical baby colors. This will be number 14 that I have made in 3 weeks to go down to the NICU. I know y'all just said, "Are you kidding me? 14 blankets in 3 weeks?" That's right. That is right. 14 baby blankets is what this number will be. And I'm trying to make a minimum of 36. They have 36 isolette covers. My sister in law is going to be here first part of December. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I would love to be able to just be like, here, take take the blankets. Go down there. Yeah, yes. 14 blankets in 3 weeks, y'all. And I have more in the works. We're going to do another fun stitch this week. Um, I just discovered it. I was perusing the interwebs and I found this really cool stitch that's worked corner to corner. And I was like, oh, I need this in my life, y'all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I'll show you a little example. You guys want to see it? We're going to work on it probably on Thursday. This is a corner to corner that is done with a granny stitch. Corner to corner with a granny stitch. Yes, Tammy, the blankets do sometimes go with the babies when they leave the hospital. That's why I said I could make these for eternity and never have enough. So this is my latest little thing. I have made, how many of these did I make? I made 2 of them over the weekend. 2 full blankets. I started working this blanket last night, believe it or not. So basically, you start in the corner and you work your way out, and then you end up decreasing. And it works up faster than the corner to corner that we traditionally do. The granny stitch works up quicker. And honestly, I kind of like the look of it better. So anyhow, plan to come back by on Thursday. We're going to talk about how to do the granny corner to corner, and I'm going to teach you guys what I have learned over the last couple days because I'm super excited about it. Yeah, that's a little of what's to come if y'all were thinking about that. Tomorrow we're probably going to work on another baby blanket. I think tomorrow I'm going to try to work some more on the crisscross baby blanket. I have this one in the works. which is kind of fun. So I think we're going to work on this one tomorrow on the live. This one is the pattern is Baby Kate's Blessing Blanket, where you do the crisscross double crochets and then the single crochet. So I think this one is on deck for tomorrow. So anyhow, if you want to learn a couple new stitches this week, that is what I am thinking. If y'all want to swing back by, that would be great. Hey, Debbie, good morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so after we finish our scallop, we need to secure this to the edge of the blanket. So what I do is instead of working around the chain space, I'm actually going to work into the middle stitch of the row below here. Gen X girl, thank you so much for the November. That was really cool, wasn't it? I like that. I'm going to do a single crochet. So follow the center of your stitch, the very center one. You follow it up. Remember, the top of the stitch always sits to the right of your stitch. So I follow this up, going under the front and back loop. I put my hook all the way through, pull up a loop, and then I'm going to make just a single crochet. When you make that single crochet, what happens is it brings the side of your scallop down and it secures it to the blanket and gives it that wonderful little shape. So it's literally as easy as that to make a shell, a scallop, a fan. They are all worked in a similar fashion where you put in a number of stitches into one stitch and then you bring that stitch down and secure it. Sometimes I'll use a slip stitch here. That would work well. But what happens is if we'll do it on the next one. So into the chain space now, I need my 7 double crochets. This is called a scallop. Yes, Karina, I wrap my hooks with Coban. You know, when you go and get your blood drawn, I wrap it with Coban. I've been crocheting for 40 years, guys, 41 years. I learned from my mom and my grandma, and I learned with vintage Susan Bates inline hooks. I've tried all the little ergonomic grippy things. They pick up your little fibers as you're crocheting. So when they get grungy, I just will make a new one, you know. But it just helps it to give me a little grippy on my hook. Sometimes it'll slide down a little bit. You'll see me go off to the side. I put it on my couch and kind of push it down a little bit and get it kind of back into shape. But it's just a very economical way to make an ergonomic hook if you need a little grippy. So after we finish our 7 double crochets, our next stitch would be to do the single crochet to tack this down to the very top of our blanket here. If you go under the chain space with your double crochet or with your single crochet, you most certainly could do that. But what I have found happens is it kind of forces this chain to pull up away from the blanket. And aesthetically, I don't really like how that looks. Now, there are times where I will use that and actually make a pattern with it. But for this blanket, I prefer it to be kind of more settled into the blanket. This way, this scallop is the star of the edge of the blanket. So the way that I actually get around this is instead of working into that chain space, this pattern is called the Modern Granny. It's a 2-row repeat. And so you work your granny cluster 3 double crochets for one round, and then your next round, you work the chain space. So what I'm going to do is instead of working around the chain, I'm going to sneak down here to the row below. Those are our 3 double crochets of our granny cluster. I find the very center stitch. Okay. I follow that stitch up. The top of your crochet stitch always sits to the right. So this is the top. And I'm going to put my hook under the front and back loop and put it all the way through my blanket so that chain is also encased in there. Then I'm going to pull up a loop and then I yarn over and pull through both. So essentially, I'm still making a single crochet, but what I'm doing is I'm attaching it not just to that chain, but to the row below, and that causes it to sit a little more flush to my work. Laura Jane, what is your question? Can you tell me again? I missed it and I will try to answer. I saw somebody needs to know how to make a double crochet, so let's do that next. We're going to make our scallop. The scallop stitch is constructed with 7 double crochets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work under this chain space and I'm going to put double crochets all into this space. So what I do to make my double crochet is you yarn over. I'm going to go right underneath that chain space. I pull up a loop. I yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 3 loops on our hook. 1, 2, 3. Then what I do is I yarn over. I'm going to pull this yarn under the first 2. Now I'm back to 2 loops on my hook. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. I'm just such a beginner that I don't know where to start. I'm making a blanket with a single crochet. Laura, my recommendation would be to go over to YT. The mods will tell you what YT is if you don't already know. I highly recommend Mikey at the Crochet Crowd, Bella Coco. What you need to do is you need to find a creator that makes beginner tutorials. Beginner tutorials. What we're working on today with the scalloped border, it's kind of, I wouldn't say intermediate. It's kind of borderline beginner as you're kind of crossing over and learning a few more skills. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's not to say that you can't get there, but like if you just learned crocheting in the past few weeks, this might be a little past. But keep in mind, you will get there. Okay. I have been crocheting for a long time. I still learn new stitches and new crochet techniques every single day. I'm constantly over on YT looking at videos, watching, learning, testing, trying. I really I mean that with all sincerity. I'm always learning new things. So you'll definitely get there. It just takes some time and it takes a lot of practice and repetition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so after we have our 7 double crochets for our scallop, what we need to do is we need to bring it down and secure it how we did on the other side here. So we're going to do a single crochet on each side of our scallop, and that is what helps control it and get it into shape and be the very pretty scallop for the edge of our blanket. So instead of working around the chain space as we did for the scallop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to the row below where we did our 3 double crochets. 3 double crochets like this is called a granny cluster. You'll hear that term as well. I find the very center stitch of the 3. I follow that stitch up. Remember, the top of your crochet stitches always sit to the right of the post. This little thing that comes down from your stitches, this is called the post. I'm going to go under the front and back loop all the way through my work, and I'm going to pull up a loop so we have 2 loops on our hook, and then yarn over and pull through both. So when you create that single crochet, you can see naturally it just kind of tugged on the edge of that stitch, causing it to kind of fold into shape and make our really pretty scallop. Now I'm ready to move to the next chain space, and I'm going to repeat with the scallops. So I'm going to put 7 double crochets around this chain space. Let's do a couple slow double crochets for those that are just learning that asked how to do these. So we have our loop here on our hook. I wrap my yarn around. This is called a yarn over. The yarn is coming over the top of my hook. I bring my hook down. I slide underneath that chain. I bring my hook up and I place my yarn over the top of my hook. Again, this is called a yarn over. I pull this through. So I just kind of pull down all the way up. And now we have 3 loops on our hook. We have our starting loop and 2 more loops. Then I'm going to yarn over. Once again, I put the yarn over the top of my hook. I'm going to pull this loop right here underneath these 2 loops. This is a yarn over and you pull through 2. Now we're back to 2 loops on our hook. And I'm going to yarn over. Again, the yarn is coming over the top of my hook and then pull through those last 2. That is your double crochet. It's roughly this one's a little bigger, but it's roughly about 28 by 36 for this blanket. So here we go again with our double crochet. We have our loop here on our hook. Yarn over, wrap the yarn around the top of your hook. Bring your hook down. Go under the chain space. Twist my hook up. Make the yarn go over the top of my hook. Pull down through that space. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. Then we yarn over, make sure your yarn's coming over the top. We're going to pull this little loop here under these 2, okay? Yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So again, that's a double crochet. We need a total of 7 of these. So here's number 4 and 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so once you have your 7 double crochets here for your scallop, what you'll find is this stitch kind of sits up high. So what we have to do is we have to bring this yarn and get it attached here to the edge of our blanket. And in this case, I'm working with this chain foundation chain here. If I work my single crochet under that chain space, what it does is it causes that chain to kind of lift up here, and I don't like how that looks. So what I will do is I will actually work this single crochet a little differently. So instead of working around the chain space, what I do is I look to the row below where we did our granny clusters. A granny cluster is 3 double crochets. Okay. I'm going to go for the very center stitch. I follow that stitch up and I'm going to go under the front and back loop of that stitch. So you have these 2 bars. I slide my hook underneath and I go all the way through my blanket. Then I pull up a loop. So we have 2 loops on our hook and then yarn over, pull through 2. So what that causes us to do is pull the side of the scallop down and get it attached to the edge of the blanket, but it doesn't make that big gap in our chain space. So it's just another little way to get it secured and make it have that really pretty shape. So basically, I do a scallop, then in the next grouping, I do a single crochet. Now we're going to go back to a scallop. And then over here in this one, we'll do our single crochet and tack it down. So I just do every other one. Bryn, good morning. Thank you so much for the follow. Laura, thank you so much for being here. Kim, thank you for sharing the live. Jamie said, this is beautiful work. Where'd you go? I'm still just a baby at crochet, but I'm going to give a follow so I can expand. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for being here. User 4, thank you so much. That was a nice comment as well. Y'all, I really appreciate each of you being here. If you are new to the channel, my name is April, and I'm a hobby crocheter. I come live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings at 7:30 Central. I do work full time, and right now with the daylight savings time, I'm only on for an hour. Now, when the lights change back, we'll be back on for 2 hours. So we just come on and talk about some crochet stitches before I have to go to work. I share with you the different projects that I'm working on. I am live this morning, both on TikTok and over on YT. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can find me over there. My handle is the same, Wheeler 8 Acres. Now, as you are looking at my channel, there are a few different categories. There's one that says shorts, there's one that says videos, and there's another one that says live. So if you're looking for the live replay, like for example, last week when we started this blanket, you can go back and rewatch how we did this from the very beginning over on YT. So be sure to go over there and check that out if you wish. And I appreciate all the follows here on TikTok this morning as well. So thank you, thank you, Apple user, thank you. Yes, this is a baby blanket that I'm making. Let me kind of spread it out a little bit here. We're working on the border right now. It's kind of big, so it's hard to see the whole thing, but to kind of give you all more of an idea of where we're at. This was worked from the center. I'm using 3 different colorways. I'm using the color Cranberry, white, and this sparkle is called Christmas. It is the metallic series. The mods will pin where you can find this yarn, but Cranberry, white, and metallic. The other colorway that I like to use with this yarn is called Evergreen. I do have another one of these, much smaller, in the works. Same yarn, but this one is called Evergreen. You can kind of get an idea more of where the center was. Again, if you wanted to see how to start the Modern Granny in the round as a rectangle shape, I go through and explain all of this. We did this, I think it was last Thursday, but don't quote me. It might have been Wednesday. Y'all, all the days run together, you know? So again, this one is called Evergreen, the same yarn, but they are very pretty for Christmas if you want to try that out. And now what we're doing is we're just coming back with this blanket and we're putting a little scalloped edge on this to kind of just finish it off and make it look a little festive around the edges. Ashley, thank you so much for the follow. Molly, thank you. I appreciate that. Maria, thank you so much for sharing the live. Debbie, good morning. I didn't see you here this morning. Welcome in. Nice to have you here. Let's see. Molly said, I've been eyeballing the Christmas yarn. Yeah, it is really pretty. One thing I will mention about variegated yarn, let's just talk a little bit about variegates. Some of you may already know this and kind of feel or know how I feel about variegates. This Christmas yarn, this metallic yarn is what we call a short variegate. And what I mean by that is the color changes very quickly. So you can see it goes from white to red to green, and then it's already back to white. So it doesn't do long stretches of color changes. This is called a short variegate. What happens sometimes is when you use a short variegate with multiple rows, what will happen is it will muddy, or what I call muddy the stitches. When you will isolate a row like this, it will allow a short variegate to be the star of the show, and this white helps to set it apart. Now, in hindsight, I wish I had done only one row of white. I wish I hadn't have done two. But I was so far along in the blanket, I thought, oh, I'm not going to pull that out and redo it. So, but the point being, if you find that you're working with a short variegate and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't like how this is looking. It looks too cluttered or busy. One recommendation I would have is try setting it apart with a solid. So maybe it's a blue variegate, a blue and tan, right? Try putting a neutral next to it. Try putting a row of tan next to it. That will really allow that to pop out, or maybe even the blue. Like pick a color from the variegated, and that will really help you to use some of these short changing variegates. Now, there are other yarns that are a longer changing variegate, right? They're not so quick changing. So, for example, this blanket here that I'm doing, this is a longer transition for these colors. You can see I'm getting a pretty good chunk of purple, lavender, white. This is a longer changing variegate. However, there are even longer ones, which I use those as well for something like this. See, you've got a big group of purple, a big group of blue, a big group of green. So this I work even differently. I just feel comfortable like letting this kind of flow. So if you're working with a short variegate, that is my recommendation. Other people here might have some other opinions if they wanted to chime in with working with a shorter variegate. But in my experience, what has worked best for me is work a row of short variegate, couple it with a solid color. The solid color will help this really pop and be the star of the show, and it'll just be beautiful, and you'll really like how it turns out. So that's my recommendation. Laura B, thank you so much for the follow. Wendy, thank you for the follow. Thanks for being here this morning. Okay, so we have finished our scallop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now what we need to do is we're going to secure this side of the scallop and pull it down and attach it to the edge of our blanket. So the way we do that is we're going to do a single crochet on either side of the scallop as we make those. And sometimes instead of a single crochet here, I will also do a slip stitch. So either one would work. But as you come out of your scallop, we did 7 double crochets. Your stitch is kind of flying up here in the air. Now I'm working a 2-row repeat of this blanket. This is called the Modern Granny. So we have a chain structure that we've created, and then the row underneath that is our granny cluster. What I'm doing is I'm actually skipping past the row of chain, and I'm working down into the row below. So I kind of find my group of granny cluster, my 3 stitches. I'm going to put a single crochet into the very center. So we have our 3. I find the center stitch, follow the post up. This is called the legs of the stitch, the post. The top of the stitch always sits to the right. So this is actually the stitch I'm going to go in. I put my hook under the front and back loop and I push it all the way through my work. Then I pull up my loop. So we have 2 loops and yarn over and pull through 2. What that does is it encases that chain in with this little single crochet so it doesn't cause it to fly in the air and not be as pretty. Now, sometimes I will use the chain as a method of decoration, but if I just went around the chain, we're going to end up with a look that's more like this. And for this particular border, that's not really the look that I'm going for. So you can always work around it. Again, come down to the very center stitch under both front and back loop, all the way through, pull up a loop. Now we've got 2 and yarn over, pull through 2. The other stitch you could do right here is a slip stitch. When we do that, it forces the edge of our blanket or our scallop to come down and secure to the blanket and really give it that beautiful look that we're looking for. I'm going to be winding down here, guys. I have to go to work. Wendy, Marie, Carolyn, Mary, Mindy, Alibi, I don't know if I said that right. Connie, Cass, welcome in. Thank you so much for the follows. Musically, welcome in as well. Thank you for the follows. I am going to be wrapping up for the day. If you are new to the channel, my name is April. Very glad to have you here. If you have enjoyed the live this morning and you want to find me again, you know you will. Be sure and hit that follow button. Make sure you turn on the bell so you'll get notified by TikTok. Also, be sure and check out my YT. My handle is Wheeler8Acres. We will be back tomorrow working on a different baby blanket. Again, a NICU blanket. So a little different stitch for that one. It's going to be the crisscross double crochet. It looks a little something like this. Little something like this. So that'll be what's on deck for tomorrow. And on Thursday, we're going to be doing a brand new stitch that I have not talked about on the live before, and that is a corner to corner granny cluster. So, anyhow, that is what we've got on deck. Thank you all so much for hanging out today. Thank you for all the taps, shares, gifts to all of our super fans and subscribers. Thank you all so much. Special shout out to all of our members over on YT. Thank you for being here. I hope you all have a fabulous Tuesday. It is terrific Tuesday after all. Y'all be safe out there. Stay warm and cozy. Enjoy your crocheting and have a great day. Bye for now.